So get those entries in, everyone, and best of luck in the contest. My guest tonight is Margaret Mauldin, a native speaker and teacher of the Creek or Muskogee language. This is part 2 of our visit with Margaret. In fact, since we've already had Linda Alexander and George Bunny on previous shows, this will be our 4th program about the Creek language. There just seems to be a lot going on with Creek in Oklahoma these days, which is very exciting. Don't worry, though, we'll be working on some upcoming shows about Potawatomi and Kiowa and other languages as well. Tonight we'll talk with Margaret in her office at the University of Oklahoma, where she teaches Creek 1 and Creek 2 classes. We'll also visit her classes and sit in on a recording session with Margaret, her sister Juanita, and her mother in a Norman recording studio. So, off we go to OU and Margaret Mauldin. Margaret, I want to thank you for letting Wordpath come and peek in on your classes and look at some of your language activities and talk to you about teaching the Creek language. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We're just so happy to have you here. We're so excited about the language courses that are being offered here at OU, and particularly here in the Creek class. We love having visitors, so we're just happy to have you.
Great. We're pleased too. Can you tell us a little bit about your own personal background, kind of what in your life brought you to this point? Well, for instance, have you spoken Creek all your life? I imagine you have.
Yes, I have. It was spoken in our home, and when I started doing this language work about 6 or 7 years ago, I realized that I didn't know when I learned to speak English. I don't remember not knowing how to speak English, but I do know that I spoke Creek all my life. So that's something I don't know.
What was your school experience like? Can you remember if you had any trouble, like when you first went to kindergarten or first grade?
I had no problems. I was speaking English.
Yeah, you already knew.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about your classes here. How long have you been teaching at OU?
I began teaching in the fall of '95, and this was a totally new experience for me. Although I have taught the language in my home, I taught a practical course where we didn't have to know all the rules of grammar. I eliminated all the rules that I could, and it was somewhat like the immersion classes that you hear about, in the different tribes. So this is very new. It's very, very challenging. It still is. I'm learning every day, and I'm very excited about it. I don't know how you can stay excited about something so slow, that develops so slow. But I go to sleep excited, and I wake up excited.
Good. Well, you're teaching Creek 1 and Creek 2 this semester, right?
Yes, I am. And in the fall this year, I'll be teaching Creek 1, 2, and 3. So
sounds like quite a teaching load. You keep busy.
Very busy.
What are your students like? Can you tell us a little bit about them? Who takes these classes at OU?
Well, I do have a lot of students. I'll say over 50% that actually want to take the course. And then I have the students that just need the requirement. And I think, though, these students that take this for a requirement, they're very, very nice students. They fulfill their responsibilities rather well. I think they enjoy the classes. And I have Creek students. I would say that about 20% of my classes are Indian, and most of those are Creek Seminole. We do have some other tribes represented, but I have students that have come to class, and after being there a few weeks, they start seeing how good their language sounds, that it actually has a structure, and that it can be learned, and they start realizing that they want to know their language. Of course, a few do come for that purpose, but then others begin to realize.
We had a few in our Comanche classes who began to realize that it's a real language and they got scared. They had to do some real studying.
That's true.
And a few were disappointed when they found that out.
I think that, our Indian culture as well as the white culture got so used to the media, the movies, that I think a lot of students came to the classes, I'll have to say non-Indians, because even though the Indian students couldn't speak the language, they had heard it. So I would say that the non-Indian students came maybe expecting a how type language, that how could we possibly have a language, that would be complex enough to keep you busy, maybe. And they soon learn that it is very complex.
Right. Every language, every human language is very complex. A lot of people just don't appreciate that until they are faced with it.
I think that they see then what they thought would be a snap course,
Right.
You can't really master very well in 45 weeks if you take Creek 1, 2, and 3.
Right. What's a typical Creek? What kind of activities do you usually do in the classroom?
Well, when we began at Creek 1, it's familiarizing the students with the sounds of the language. And like lesson 1, 2, and 3, everyone is just amazed. They say, how can we make these sounds? Well, I can't do this. And we do talk about the difficult areas first. Those are the things that we try to master first. And once we're over that little hump, and actually it's like three sounds that are different. We don't have the equivalent sounds in English, so once we get over that, then we settle down and we start learning the rest of it. So we have a lot of alphabet work. We out through Creek 1, we continually recite the alphabet and the sounds and the syllables. We do a lot of syllabizing, the 2-letter syllables and 3-letter syllables. And when they have those down, real good, the sounds, then the words come so easy. I think they're really surprised.
So a lot of that early part is kind of ear training.
Yes.
As well as learning the writing system.
That's true. And I think that it's so important that it's something that you have got to do. You just can't go any faster. If you can't master this area, then there's no sense in going on.
Do you have written exercises like in most grammar classes, or word lists, or what kind of materials do you use?
Actually, it's word lists up to this point. In Creek 3 now, we'll have a lot of composition. That through Creek 1 and Creek 2, we're studying the parts of speech, and we're doing that because at this level, so many of the students have had this kind of training that the language they speak, English, they have to know all the parts of speech. So we have to use that to mirror, our language and show them how, how our parts of speech match theirs.
Right.
And so this is a new approach for me, but we
kind of a
use
comparative grammatical approach.
Yes.
I guess we should call it.
right. So we at this point we generate simple sentences, and I want to do a lot of dialogue. Like from this very point, this week we have started this. For the remainder of this semester, we'll be doing sentence composition, comprehension, and a lot of dialogue. And when we get into Creek 3, we will be doing much, much more than that.
Okay, what I want you to do in this exercise is to say a sentence loudly, clearly enough so that the other group can hear you. Whoever's saying the sentence, after they say the sentence and have completed the sentence, the other group then gets 15 seconds to figure out. Okay, quiet, quiet, quiet.
Chibaniti, Maniti, Nita, Pumpkin, Ikana, Tetlopoti, Yakalis.
Well, yeah,
Okay. Chibaniti, Maniti, Nita, Pumpkin, Ikana, Tetlopoti, Yakalis.
so, but,
One day, a young boy was walking through the country.
I'm going to challenge you on one day. One day is a time. Time would be a past two. If it's one day, no, it'd be a past four. And we haven't had past four yet because it's in way distance past.
Bring out the same point.
that was a good challenge.
Challenge.
Next, we'll visit Margaret's Creek 2 class, School of Architecture.
Okay, you have 5
Which ones do you want to go
All right, what we're going to do is start with one town, and they're going to say their sentence to the town next to them or closest to them. So if this town would say their sentences to this one, you guys will have some time to translate what's been said and to also point out any problems in their sentence. Okay, so if they've created a grammatically incorrect sentence, then you get to kind of critique them. Say, hey,
Charles is left. We'll start with him.
Ifit Olegaton Owagis.
okay, do you have a
The dog was lying on the chair. It was the dog sleeps on the chair. Sleeping. The verb's not right.
Yeah, the verb that you had was actually to lie down.
So I think I'll
So you actually got what they were saying.
I wanted to get you to say a little bit about that part that I did record in the studio. Could you just sort of describe what you were doing there? And a
Yes.
couple weeks ago when I recorded you, what was that taping about?
It was just about things over the years that my mother has told us, you know, and at the time you think, well, that is so amusing, I'll never forget that, or oh, that is really historical, you know, so I'll never forget that, but you do. So I asked my sister if she could recall some things that you know, our mother had talked about, and she said, sure. So we started comparing notes, and I remembered things she didn't, and so we wanted to record my mother talking to us about these things. So we had already talked with her about some of the things we wanted her to repeat. and she was willing to do that. So that's what we were doing, and we've got much more to do.
Sure.
Oliver, avege tahiska noksulle diidoille. Olin mä teikin on. Ammi take. Tahdilla ja saasi suodu ipadiduun. Tamistu vitipeidi. Mä olen tämän leesekin daho voi saada. Se saadai. Liskat lasavoi. Annetske luoda mahara liskat rehaani ja lasa kaivua. Mä oon sähitsi koon. Toidekin noin. Oli stammen annar lehtonskin amuna en osi kedet. Voi saada. Omaira näin. Mä säiska asulle on napoloksuidu leikille. Ihmat on tuokin työhön hakivärin. Mä ammareitiskä.
Mä niin voi lähteä.
Honnelle saa hoskuisin mitäänkin maksimadamoa. Muin hohti adolki mamman adolki mä hohtaliisi viidadonka. Muin hotskadi liikaa. Pappa olisi haakin soseoti haakidon. Niin se leisesti haavaosan niin se satskin muun oleseltu. Honnaan hahi. Hadik pega isi haakin. Onko vektavan no emma sidi haakin an haahuidon. Oli nahtu esko emadan maagidon abilisi dyman no. Itse muolen aina mahisoikas koe sidi haakidon maagidon. Pappa olisi haakin. Sidi haagidon niin osin Helsingin iähitöisko emadan mäkin. Muistuu tavallaan se kun on se katsonut, että iskiskosin aina huonoanan tulma klemdeoloma mä itskidadi. Alkoholma sedi hadi ei niskatoude saasi silloin. Hadi allergi ja muuta lohadahan tuossa mahdollinen. Se on ahodi. Mä pojat vähän tuon mahdollinen. Se on haakahuille hotsin. Mä itskidadi mä mä avastin vuoteen, mä viisotti tiota. Mä dadidon oidu, mä noin sahagi ozidu, mä tjoga so se on dadidon. So sa.
Ei ole voisi mädä. Tarvitse staalilla. Anda oppasi hänkin. Tätä se voi näemään. Oli isomassa leijin, mä oppasin, mä siis lehdon tein sitten mä näen hädävilää kielitä se oikein. Anda. Tosi lähdetään. Antaa kentin sitten, se mä näin. Antaa paneen, niin se vähän ei työskelee. Suurääkin mä näin, kesäidon tuo.
Nää se uipeli.
Kansakaan, se on se sivupuolella, faatkin tuli ryömä tuo. Paneena. Katski ryömä tuo.
When we talk about language loss, we all talk about it, we Indian people. We say, you know, our language is just dying, and it sure is. Yes, our language is just dying. Oh, this is a terrible thing, you know, our language is just dying, you know. We repeat these words and we tell one another this critical thing, but I think that we have not yet comprehended what we're talking about. I spoke the language all my life, and 10 years ago I started looking around and I saw how fast our language was dying, and it was like a slap in the face. I mean, it was like cold water in the face. I had been saying these same things and I thought I knew what I was saying, and I just felt desperate. Suddenly I could see that we had no time left to do language work. It's something that should have been done years ago, and I had to wrestle with the problem of, well, whose responsibility is it? And this went on for months. I was angry, I was sad, I was upset, you know, and I just I thought, well, you know, the tribe should be doing something about this. the tribe was saying, well, the federal government should be doing something about this because they took it from us, but there was no action on this type thing, really. The tribe as a whole, just that this was their attitude. And I was angry at the federal government, and I was angry at the Creek tribe. And then I thought, well, what about individual responsibility? And so in 1991, I gave up all employment and sat up at my kitchen table and started looking at my language. And that's how I started doing this work. And I think after I started doing the language itself, then it really hit me hard when we lost one of our older church members that knew so many of the songs, and I knew that we wouldn't hear these songs anymore. And I started a hymn book project, and at first, well, what I wanted was clarity. Every syllable to be heard, and so I decided to do a teaching book. And what I ended up with was a book, the first book of 25 hymns. And there is a tape to go with this, and all 25 songs are on the tape. And it's a learning book or a learning tape, and anyone can learn to sing these songs. You don't have to be Creek, you don't have to understand the language. Let us forget, let us forget, oh Margaret, it's our place, let us forget. The preservation, I've been trying to think of other ways to preserve hymns, and one of the ways that I'm attempting now is to form a Creek choir that can go all over the nation, maybe. And I now have 6 students, and we're getting started. And I have another project that I'm involved in, and it's updating the old original Lawridge dictionary. And I'm working with Professor Jack Martin, and he teaches at William and Mary, but we've been working on this project for 3 years, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll be ready to publish. And I just can't wait for this. It's such a tremendous job. I've made a commitment that I'm going to work with my language for the rest of my life.
Thank you very much for speaking with us today, Margaret, and good luck in everything that you're doing.
Oh, I need it. Thank you.
Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene madaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita wa pene madaone kita na hene yo hene na hene yo hene ana magwana kita wa pene madaone kita